Hello guys, I'm Maria and this is my first booktube video ever. I asked you guys on Twitter what this video should be about and you guys said that you wanted me to talk about my favorite books of 2019. So even though we are in the middle of 2020, I'm going to talk about that. I read 50 books in 2019, which is the most books I've ever read in my entire life, well, in the span of a year. So it was a hard pick, but I read amazing books and I can't wait to talk about them. So let's talk about books. We're gonna start with Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This was the third book in the Dark Artifices trilogy. I read this book at the end of 2018 when it came out, but I just finished it in 2019. Like I said, this is the third book, so I can't talk about like too freely about it because there might be spoilers. So if you guys want me to talk about this book more in depth and just talk about the whole trilogy and the characters, I have a lot to say about the characters, like a lot, especially about Cristina because I'm Mexican and that was the first character that I ever read about that was completely Mexican, so I was very excited about her. But I also had a little like critiques about it, about the way she was written. If you guys want me to talk about that, please let me know in the comments. But overall, it's in my favorite list, so I really liked it. It was a very difficult book to get through because we follow so many plot lines and characters. Sometimes it was hard to really understand what was going on. The characters were what made this book so amazing. I'm invested. I love them, so it's gotta be my favorite. But I really liked it. It was good. Another book that was one of my favorites in 2019 was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was the first time that I ever heard about this author, and I was very, very surprised. I started this book with no knowledge about what it was about. I just really liked the cover. We follow Monique. She is a reporter and she's asked to interview Evelyn Hugo. And well, Evelyn Hugo is this big Hollywood star that was very famous and that had 7 husbands. In this book we learn about why she had 7 husbands and what happened to them. And I gotta say, I think as a woman it was very real to learn about Evelyn Hugo and her story and why she married so much. And especially for me, one of the big plots in this book, one of the main plot twists was very important to me. I had never felt so seen or so represented in a way, and I understood so many things about my character and myself and my life in a general way while reading this book. I really liked it and I think lots of you will like it. How pretty is this cover? Look at her. She's the prettiest. Another book that was very important for me, especially, talking about Evelyn Hugo, was Circe by Madeline Miller. I was very scared to get into this one because I had never read Greek mythology before this. I was not that kind of kid. So I was scared that I wouldn't get much of this book. But I did. It was really easy to get through. It was really easy to understand, even though I had not a lot of experience with these stories that we're exploring. This is a book about being a woman in a world where it's almost a crime to be one and to be perceived as one and to act like one and to try to get through life as one. Circe explains how this woman goes through life learning about herself and about the world and how it works for people like her, and how she's forbidden to do things and forbidden to talk about things, and how she's also punished for trying to get out of line. I never thought that I would like it this much, especially because I never thought that I would understand and see myself in a Greek goddess. such as her. And I think we see, like, in the stories that I've heard about Cersei, she's always seen as the bad witch and how she just is evil, but she's more than that. And I think it is very well explained and explored different kinds of women and how they try to survive in this world. So it was an amazing book and I really recommend it. So I read the Throne of Glass series, the whole series, in 2019. And this is not my favorite one, this Throne of Glass, but I'm not gonna talk about this specific one. I'm gonna talk about the series by Sarah J. Maas. I understand why people won't like it, or wouldn't like it. I totally loved it. We have this story about this assassin, Selena Sarduthine, who is imprisoned and is released by the prince of this world, well, of this kingdom, and how she is gonna play as his champion in this sort of tournament where the winner gets to be sort of the assassin for the king. You know, it's what she did before, but now she gets to pay, and it's, well, she gets paid and it's legal. So my favorite book in this series was, surprisingly, Queen of Shadows. I don't have it right now, but I really like that one. So imagine that this is Queen of Shadows. Yeah, it was my favorite because we, you know, the jump from the book before was so much, it was so much change into our main girl, our main character. Selena grows so much and becomes the kind of character that I expected her to be since the beginning, but that I hadn't had the chance to see. She goes from the person she was trying to be to the person who she was always meant to be. We get all these points of view from different characters that I didn't really understand or loved before, but because of that book, I absolutely cared about them. What I really didn't like about that book, though, was, well, I liked it and I didn't like it because I'm a huge Gale stan. Yes, we exist. And his behavior was not the best in Queen of Shadows, but I love him. And I understand that that sort of behavior and that it was a natural reaction to all of the things that happened in that book and that happened in the previous books. So it was interesting to see this part of his character that I don't like, that I totally hate it, and to see one of my favorite characters grow from that. I'm really glad that I continued the series. Another of my favorite books of 2019 was the sequel to The Rotten at Dawn by Renatier, which is The Rose and the Dagger. It's funny because I gave the first one 5 out of 5 stars and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars in Goodreads, but I like this one the most. The first one, although it was amazing, it was an amazing book and an amazing read, and I fell in love completely with the characters. It had some scenes that made me uncomfortable. The series follows our main character, which is Shazada, and how she is trying to kill the Caliph of Khorasan, named Khalid, who has been killing women. He has been taking brides and killing them, and nobody knows why, and she just lost her best friend, and she is determined to make him pay and kill him. Totally fell in love with the way this author described things in such a beautiful way, but without being too cheesy or too over the top. It was a perfect amount of beauty and reality, and the main character was so incredibly strong throughout just the 2 books, but I like that in this one we get to see more of her development and how she is destined and tired and at the same time ready to make this end and help the man she loves. Also, I really loved Khalid. I never thought that I liked a character like him as much as I did. He was dark and mysterious and hot and like, you know, bad boy with a dark past, and we don't know what's going on, and she's like trying to understand him, but she hates him. Totally recommend it. If you haven't read it, please check it out. It's amazing. Other books that I read in 2019 that I bet almost everyone has read at this point, but I hadn't, was The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Mayer. Well, I'm gonna talk about my favorite one, which was Cress. I totally fell in love with the stories and the characters and just everything. It was so much fun to read. I was so invested that I think I read the 5 books in like 3 days. Well, no, that's a lie. Like in a week. Or less. I just read them so fast and I was so excited to read and I was so sad to let them go. It was like reading a Rapunzel and Eugene fanfiction. That's it. It felt a lot like Tangled, but at the same time it was its own thing, that it had enough of Tangled to make me feel warm inside and enough originality to make me want to know more about them. I'd never imagined someone making a retelling of Cinderella and Red Riding Hood and Rapunzel and Snow White, even though I don't like Snow White. I really liked Winter, but my favorite has to be definitely Cress. And the fact that this is all about, you know, people coming from the moon, from this place called Luna, and how we have this pandemic. I don't think there was ever a point in any of the books that I felt, this again. The story was interesting enough and the characters were making the story go so much faster and so much interesting that there was never a point where I felt so tired of reading. Like, I spent so many nights like until like 3 a.m. when my mom was like, just go to sleep, for God's sakes, go to sleep. I just really love those characters and I think it was an amazing story. And it was so original and so amazing, so creative, and it was a perfect amount of reality with comedy and romance and sci-fi and fantasy. It was the perfect amount of everything. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Archenemies, the second book in Marissa Mayer's Renegade trilogy. In these books we follow Nova, who is a villain. She was raised by this super villain called Ace Anarchy. Nova is trying to take down the renegades and she does this by infiltrating them. But I don't think I've ever read about such a beautiful and soft main interest like Adrian. Like, he was so sweet and cute, and but he has a secret. The second one, I chose it because it's the perfect moment where Nova is trying to understand her purpose, why she's doing what she's doing, and when she realizes that she might be feeling something else and go in a different direction. It's the moment where she starts to doubt herself. And it was so interesting to see this main lead being a villain and dealing with this. Am I doing the right thing? Am I not? I really like these people. I might be falling for this guy, but I don't know what to do. If you really like the Lunar Chronicles, I really recommend reading the Renegades trilogy. The last book that I'm going to talk about has to be one of my favorite. Like, I don't want to say my favorite. It probably was. And it is Red Wine Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I had heard good reviews about this book and I was very excited when I heard, you know, I read the description of what it was and I was like very excited to get it. But I never thought that it would turn to be such an special book in my life. Like, every time I feel sad or a little burdened or a little anxious, especially in these times, I just open my favorite parts and I feel so warm inside and so happy. So this book follows Alex, son of the first female president in the United States, and how he is rivals with the Prince of England, Henry. Because of a little incident, these two characters are pulled together and they have to pretend to be best friends. One of the things for me when I read books is that I have to really relate to a character, or I really have to feel represented in a way, and it usually never happens with male characters. That's why I don't read lots of books by male authors or with male characters as the lead. I was so surprised to hear that Casey was not Mexican. because Alex's representation of being half Mexican was pretty well done for me. Like, that is my experience, in my opinion, as a Mexican. Like, many of the things that he commented on, or that he just talked about, like music and food and, you know, just like daily things that us Mexicans or Latinos see as something so normal, and just to see it on a page and be like, oh yeah, we do that. So I really liked it, both for Alex, because I just love that character so much. I saw myself in him so much, and the love story was so sweet. Like, just think about them and I wanted to cry because they were so cute. And it's a story that's so real in a way that just makes you rethink the fact that we sometimes see the development that we've done, but we sometimes don't see that there's so much ahead of us, so much that we have to accomplish. And this book just sort of made me realize that a lot. So these were my favorite books of 2019. Like I said, I read 50, and so I didn't get the chance to talk about all of them. If you guys want me to talk about any of these books that I just mentioned, like more in depth, just let me know. I would be so happy to talk about these books. I also want to say sorry if my English is a little bit rusty. I haven't practiced as I should, and my first language is Spanish, and sometimes my tongue gets a little weird, so I'm sorry about that. And I hope you guys could understand everything that I said, even though probably most of this video was amazing. This year has been extremely hard. I just hope that everyone in your life is safe and that you're taking care of yourself, and please don't go out. Please wear your masks. We're in this together, and I hope that my video got you laughing, at least, for my bad English or anything. And if any of you want to talk, you can contact me in any of my social media accounts. I'm gonna link down below. I really mean it. So yeah, I really hope that you liked it, and I hopefully will see you in the next one. Bye.